current issue is we're storing in a temporary browser cache and not in the Firestore database. Need to store in Firestore what should be the Firestore structure. So this is the way I was thinking of doing it, with the user ID and then search-console underneath. That's why I suggested here in Firestore in a collection named search-console. The search console, the projects. It also suggested a few different things, crawl frequency. So we could set like once per day. So see you've got markdown cache. And then there's local state for search console data. So it's storing, getting everything locally, which is not what we want to do. I'll create a file just for the Firestore structure. These are like temporary files, but it probably will get committed to the repo. Just for the structure. So implement Firestore based on @project Firestore. All this, we can delete all the data that we've got. Firebase, Firestore database. Then I'm just going to delete from the main. Because we can start from scratch. This should be laid out, but it hasn't modified any other files in the. So it seemed like it was too much work for it to do to look at all the source files. It didn't do that. So each of these tasks we look at one by one. And we give it the task, and then @project Firestore. Going to try the bolt.new prompt improver, so I pasted that in there, and I just added this line here. There's this button here to improve it. Here's the output that it gave me. So I'll just remove anything that is not relevant. And then at the end, I'll give it the project Firestore. I'll sign in. That should create a record in Firestore. Refresh, and the record is there. You can check directly on the database here as well. Refresh. It shows the user and it shows the search console token for that connection that I just made. If we go over here, refresh, we should see it appear. The search console should appear. You have to refresh on that. Search console is now there. I'm going to try something different with the prompt improver. I'm just going to take the entire contents, create a Firestore implementation to store Google Search Console project. When I click Add Project on the settings screen, use what's relevant from the following, and then I'll paste. See what it can do with this. So I pressed the wrong button. I want to press on this prompt improver and then read through it to see that is creating underneath the user ID, search-console projects, project ID. And then under that would be the structure. It's included the structure there, so it's done a good job of it. So I'll copy that. So we need to give better instructions to Windsurf. So press the plus. So it's creating a new function inside the existing Firestore service class to handle projects. New code create search console project. And there's the project structure. It's like a JSON. Stores it in this collection, search console projects. Up here for create project, but it was much simpler. There will be some duplication of code in other files as well. So it depends on what functions are being called. We'll have to clean it up in future. So I'm going to tell it when I click add project, use the create method for, give it the full. We'll see here it will go and create unnecessary files like add project, and it's created a component for it. We don't need any of that. I've deleted that file it created. Just followed up. I don't need interface. The button already exists. And then I gave it the /settings route, and then it was able to find it properly. You can see it's using the new method create search console project, which wasn't being used before. And it's saying what it's doing. It's using the create search project, search console project. It says permission level is handled by the Firestore service. You can see it's using the new method create search console project, which wasn't being used before. Projects to be one of the root documents under user ID. Before it was under search console, but I've just moved it here. Search console will be separate. Projects is now at the root level underneath the user ID at the projects, even though I added those two. So paste the URL, display the projects from Firestore. So it's created get all projects. You have to use the correct path here. Now it's just projects instead of the search console. Or get project, which is still search console. So I'll just delete the word search console. The new function is get all projects, where it doesn't need a project ID, but get project is a specific project, and that's what would need the project ID passed in. Refresh the page, and now the two properties are displayed, or the two projects. Now that we're not using the cache, or not using cache as much, we should load everything first from the Firestore. So make sure Firestore is involved. So these, for example, would need to check if the project was added in Firestore so that if it's already added, it doesn't need to show this button. Logging in private browser, you can see that it's still loading from the Firestore. Otherwise, it would display nothing here. So it's working now. On the dashboard, this would need to be looking at the Firestore instead of whatever it's looking at, the cache. Then before committing, you look through your Git file list to see what changes were made. And just make sure it didn't delete things that it shouldn't have deleted. So these are mostly some of them are new files. There's most recent feature, and if I scroll up, I'll see other ones there as well. I kept a record of. That's an important thing when using a new method. And then using that on the settings page. Settings page and projects. So that's what the message can be on the commit. So if you have a look at the collections in Project Firestore, you can see what the structure should be. Currently we have under the user ID projects and a search console, but we do not have the connections, so we're not storing the connections in the this search console currently. So you see it's only storing the tokens, and then settings is further out. I don't think this is not showing settings, but that's alright. So search console should have, when we get the list, we need properties, whether it's under connections or not, but this is what it recommended to do. So you could take this or give it the full project Firestore. I need to save to Firestore. And then it's made some changes to, instead of the connections / properties, it's putting properties here at a higher up level instead of under connections. You see it's got properties twice now. Stores individual properties in Search Console properties instead of, so this is used for some other purpose. I'm not sure if it's going to be used. This is including dedicated properties collection. Stores new property, remove property, update existing property. Okay, I asked the question and it's simplifying this by deleting connections properties. It's just going to use connections, and then so connections properties is not going to be used anymore. It says, oops, let me fix the path. So it'll be Search Console properties. It's added this save properties to Firestore when they change. It's using the Search Console properties by storage schema. Now there are some errors for the lib services Firestore and the settings. So I'll paste a screenshot. And the 2 pages that I wanted to look at. All is invalid as a document ID in Firestore. So I went to Google AI Studio, help me with Firestore. Document references must have an even number of segments. Collections always need to be at an odd level, 1st, 3rd, 5th. Document IDs need to be at an even level, 2nd, 4th, 6th, etc. Number of segments in the document. So then I take this, the rule, I copy this, and I pasted it. I said check again following this, and I pasted that rule, and now it's analyzing. It says wrong, correct, collection document, collection document, collection document. It's deleted a lot of info from here, and it's just moved it down here. Search collection column, collection, properties is a document. I guess these are all fields, so collection, document, and then fields.